In today's video, I am going to be showing you a yummy cowboy spaghetti recipe. I am Rebekah with Learning Together by Grace. Are you guys ready? Let's get going. Alright, so I just finished cooking up these 2 pieces of bacon, and I was like, you know what, girl, the recipe calls for 6 strips. Go on and cook those last 3 pieces of bacon and stop trying to save them for breakfast in the morning. So I only had 5 pieces of bacon, but that was okay. I cooked that up and it was perfect. And then the recipe also calls for 1 onion chopped. I had this leftover onion in my refrigerator. It was half of a larger onion, and so I just chopped that up, as well as some garlic. I also have salt, pepper, 1 can of tomato sauce. It calls for 1 can of diced tomatoes and 1 can of fire roasted tomatoes, but I only had this big can of diced tomatoes. It calls for some hot sauce, Worcestershire sauce, which I don't use, but I have liquid aminos, my chicken broth, and some ground beef. So here I am just taking those chopped up onions and adding them to my skillet with that bacon fat, and I'm just using that bacon fat to cook up my onions. And I'm just making sure that I saute them until they get a nice caramelly color. They'll look a little translucent. And then after you do that, you just add in 2 cloves of chopped garlic. And I'm just going to stir all of that together just to get those flavors nice and infused. Now I'm adding in my ground beef. This is a little over a pound. I believe it's 1.25 pounds of ground beef. I get this one from Costco. And now I'm going in with my black pepper. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And so now I'm just going in and just mixing all of that together to brown my ground beef. Next up, I'm going in with some of my homemade chicken bone broth. It did call for beef broth, but I didn't have it, so I just used what I had on hand. And I needed 1.5 cups of the broth. And then I added in the hot sauce. It called for 2 teaspoons of that, or to taste, it says, as well as 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. But again, I use liquid aminos in place of that. I'm just stirring all of that together and allowing it to melt. And then I go in and add in 1/2 of the chopped up bacon. You guys didn't see that on camera, but I did. I chopped it up. Now I'm just going to stir all of that together just to make sure that it gets incorporated. Next, I'm just going to add in my spaghetti noodles, and I'm just breaking them in half. And this was a whole entire container of spaghetti noodles that I used. It says 8 ounces for the recipe, so I just broke them up in half, and then I just kind of made sure that they were nestled in well. And then after that, I went in with my diced tomatoes. Again, you could use 1 can of diced tomatoes and then 1 14.5 ounce can of fire roasted tomatoes. But I just had the diced tomatoes. And then 10 ounces of tomato sauce. Or sorry, it was 4 ounces of tomato sauce. So now I'm just stirring that all together to try to cover my spaghetti noodles. And then I cover it and I let it simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I went in and I stirred it because I wanted to make sure that the sauce and the diced tomatoes were getting incorporated and to help the noodles cook better. Now, being that I've cooked before and I know how things taste, I wanted to add my own little flair to it, so I added some garlic powder, some oregano, as well as some rosemary, and just a little bit more salt to this dish. So now what I'm gonna do is just cover it and allow it to simmer for another 5 to 10 minutes. Now that it is done simmering and the noodles are tender, it is time to add in the cheese. And this is shredded cheese that my daughter did. It calls for half a cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. And so I just added that all over the top and tried to evenly disperse it as best as I could. As you guys can see, I was not trying to leave any cheese behind. No cheese left behind, y'all. All right, so after I put the cheese in the dish, I then added the remainder of that chopped up bacon and just tried to disperse it evenly over the pasta dish. All right, now it's just time to cover it, maybe 5 minutes so that the cheese can melt. And this is what it looked like. Y'all, this was probably one of me and my family's favorite spaghetti recipes. It was so delicious. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed this recipe, and I'll make sure I put the link to the recipe in the description. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share, and that notification bell. You guys have a blessed one. Bye.